Hello and welcome to the program. My name is Ethan, and you are watching Stinky Platinums, a weekly video game news talk show hosted by yours truly. It used to be weekly, and then I skipped a couple weeks, but I'm back now. Today we're talking about Concord, the kind of Wolverine and Perfect Dark switch-up. Nintendo made a weird music streaming app just for their own games, the neat little twist, and more. How's it going? Welcome back to the show. Basically on this program, we talk over maybe 6, sometimes 7 pieces of video game news that I'm interested in. I grabbed a couple from previous weeks that I did want to bring up and talk about. But we're going to be going back into the actual week's news as we move forward. And during all that, we play through 2 Stinky Platinums. These are games that range from honest attempts at an amateurish indie-developed video game to just straight-up shovelware slop, reusing assets over and over again. But the thing that connects the two is an easy trophy list, the Platinum, that basically almost guarantees a single sitting. So we're going to hop into both of those again. Today, I have 2 kind of lists here. I always like picking one of these jumping games to begin with, so I can just hold down the X button while we talk about our main topic of the show, the main news story. And then we'll pick a game off of this kind of, long and winding road Beatles album title of a list here for all of these Stinky Platinums in the other list. I have them kind of star ranked by... I kind of looked over the actual trophy list for each of these games, and I kind of ranked them by, how much attention and time I think it would take. How easy would it be for me to, read off a bunch of new stuff and talk about my opinions while also trying to concentrate on a video game? This one might be harder, 5 stars, and say, a 2-star one. I think we've only done 2 stars so far, but we'll see. I will decide that when we kind of get to it. All right, so why don't we hop in? These turbo ones are faster, and so I've been not doing them. Oh, that's strange. For whatever reason, the captions aren't popping up. They were literally working prior to the whole thing. That's strange. I'm going to click a thing and then click back. 1 second. Hello, hello. Oh, that's very, very weird. Captions are supposed to be down there in the bottom left. They were literally working, and then they're not. Very, very weird. Well, whatever. We'll roll without them for now. It's okay. Apologies. I think they look cool. All right, we're going to do in the jumping french fries. While we talk about Concord officially ending, as well as the actual closure of a studio Sony bought a year and a half ago. Pretty sure Sony bought Firewalk Studios around the time of March of last year, 2023. And since then, they've allowed them to continue work on Concord, trying to make Concord a first-party games as a service, live service video game. It launched. Rumors or reports rather state that it sold about 25,000 copies, which is abysmally low for a $40 multiplayer-only shooter. Although there was some sort of time trial thing, I never actually played that part. I was so focused on the trophies, I never touched the time trials. I don't even know what they looked like, and I never will, because they closed down Firewalk, and they're obviously announced the official end of Concord completely. Because the game came out in August, I had it pre-ordered. I have my disc is far away from me. It's not within arm's reach, and I'm not going to get up and grab it. I had pre-ordered it. I enjoyed my time with the beta. Is the game too... Oh, yeah, that is maxed in volume. You don't want to hear the doot-doot-doot of the jumping french fries? We're holding down this X button. This is how winners stay winning. By the way, I had to delay the stream, besides the 2 weeks part, by a half an hour because I was playing... And there's the captions. That's strange. Whatever, I'll take it. I was playing a game of Super Mario Party Jamboree. I had 8 stars in 10 turns. Winners stay winning. Well, now it's hard to transition back to the topic about Concord being shut down. But yeah, I had it pre-ordered. I enjoyed my time with the betas. There was some cool stuff with the whole fact that you're building out a loadout of characters. And like there was that one game set of game modes where like, you know, no respawns, and then like if your team wins that round, you can't pick that character slot again, and just the whole, it was such a cool idea. I enjoyed my time with the game. I said this during those streams. Every single character of like the 16 I think were in there, maybe it was 12. I was like, no, I'm not gonna like this character. Not all of them, but like the characters that I did say, I don't like playing as, you know, beepy little pistol guys, and you know, I don't like playing as that. You know, snipers, not my thing. But I'm playing as them because there was trophies attached to each character, so I played as all the characters. And I was like, oh my god, I really get this character. I've never had that with Overwatch, and I probably never will, because unless they rechange characters completely in Overwatch, I'm just not going to enjoy it. I loved Concord a lot. I legitimately did. Less than 2 weeks after it came out, they decided, hey, we need to pull the plug on this and kind of figure out what the hell we're doing. This wasn't a case where they were like, all right, hold on, we need to redo some stuff, cut it from sales, and let's just figure it out. They pulled it from sales, they refunded people who bought it digitally, they yanked it from Steam libraries, and PlayStation accounts like a day after the Steam library thing. I fortunately had it on disc, so they couldn't do that to me. Obviously. I actually still have it installed, by the way. I could probably boot it up if I put the disc in the console. Yeah, they did that, and they said, we need to take a step back and really reevaluate rather, what we're going to do with this. We're going to explore all options and figure out what's the best thing to do for this video game. And a couple months later, now we have our result. They're not going to continue with the game. They're shutting it down completely. This sucks for a number of reasons. A lot of people just lost jobs. This was a company that was founded, I believe, in 2018. It started earnestly in development of what would become Concord in 2021 or 2022. I forgot what they said in the statement. But a couple years ago, people were like, oh, it's been in development for 8 years, and it cost $400 million. Not that expensive and not that long. But the studio was founded by another larger corporation, who then sold that to Sony last year, about a year and a half ago. And Sony obviously was like, cool, let's continue. The now more accurate sounding figure for development cost on Concord was $200 million. It was what Sony paid for the studio. And then there was more that they had to pay for, like the IP rights and stuff, and then they had to pay for continuation of the video game itself. So Sony did put a lot of money into this game, and it is just baffling to me that they're like, yeah, we'd rather just literally lose all of this money. You'll lose the talent, and then that's it. Like, this was a studio founded by ex-Bungie people, which they bought Bungie because they obviously respected the talent of Bungie. And then this studio has ex-Bungie people founding it. They're like, that's not good enough. So they lose all that talent. They just lose a video game that could have been turned around into something. And obviously they just ate shit on a lot of money, and then that's it. I almost kind of like wonder, like, you know, when Microsoft closed studios left and right the past couple years, because, you know, Phil Spencer wanted to buy Activision for $70 billion, and Satya Nadella came down and said, all right, you used daddy's money, now you have daddy's attention, and daddy has some things you need to cut to save costs, because if Call of Duty makes $1 billion a year in profit, we're not going to wait 70 years until you turn profit on this. We're going to have to start cutting costs now, right? That was that whole thing. But when they did all that, they closed Tango Gameworks, which made Hi-Fi Rush, a game I own on PlayStation 5, but have not started yet. I bought it basically right away to be like, hey, I don't know what's going to happen, and I want this to be proof that, like, yes, we over here on the PlayStation side will buy your games. And actually, it sold pretty well. I think Sea of Thieves, which is another Microsoft published game, which came to PlayStation same month as Hi-Fi Rush, was like the #1 selling game on the PlayStation Network store for that month. So, like, people bought stuff. Anyway, Tango Gameworks got closed down shortly after the PlayStation version came over. And then, oh, that sucks, obviously. And then Krafton, the company which owns and operates PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, PUBG, and I guess also the Callisto Protocol. I actually have that on the shelf back there. I haven't played it yet. I got it off GameStop. And Grounded. No, Grounded was Obsidian. But that did also come to PlayStation as well. Not a big fan on the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids type of aesthetic, though. Krafton bought Tango from Microsoft and said, hey, anyone that's still left, like, hey, you still work here. Like, we're not, you have a job. And we want you to make Hi-Fi Rush 2 now. Like, we want you to do cool stuff. Like, please, we're going to try to save you. And I'm wondering if that's possible for Firewalk. My gut tells me what we saw with Krafton and buying Tango Gameworks was a miracle and will probably never happen again. Not in the way that it had happened where console publisher says, see ya, hit the bricks. You didn't make us $70 billion, get it the fuck out of here. All of you are gone now. We're all laid off. We're not going to make the game anymore. Studio's just completely closed. Yeah, we could, make some money somehow and keep the talent, but fuck it. We'll cut our losses. Line must go up, and this is easier. We cut all these costs, and then that makes the line go down less, which the year after, we'll look at our comparison to be like, actually, our costs were lower, so now line goes up. That's how these idiots think. I think that's a miracle, how that happened, where a studio closes. Everyone says, goodbye, you're gone. And in that kind of interim period where people are still looking for jobs, someone comes and say, hey, we'll buy you. It's okay. Can we buy you? And then that company says yes. Because I'm going to be honest, if a Krafton came to Sony and came to PlayStation, say, hey, can we buy Firewalk real quick? Well, it's not completely gone. And can we buy the Concord IP? I guarantee you PlayStation will say no out of pride and spite almost. To be like, nope, we're PlayStation. This looks more embarrassing to us. I don't know what's more embarrassing, spending over $200 million on a studio, an IP, and a video game, and then selling 25,000 copies after not marketing it all, and then saying, fuck it, go away after 2 weeks. I think that's more embarrassing. Because a lot of people's lives, basically are in turmoil now because of this stuff. So that's a big shame. If they knew that they wanted to just say sorry, goodbye, out the gate when they decided to yank this, because remember, after that just under 2 week period, I think it was like 12 days, Sony and Firewalk are like, we're gonna explore options and figure out what to do. And this couldn't, and so when they yanked, the game completely from everyone and shut it down, my assumption at the time was, okay, what they're going to do is have it be a free-to-play thing. And in order for them to have it be free-to-play, they need to renege on all of the promises they made about no monetization, no microtransactions or anything. The initial pitch was, you pay $40, there are no battle passes, you do not buy characters or maps. The only thing that they're going to sell, and they never actually did, but eventually, was they're going to have a cosmetic store. And even then, from what I remember seeing in the brief snippets of that in, like, their launch, not trailer, but, like, video, because it was mostly the staff talking about how much they love the game. The brief little snippets, it looks like it was just like, oh yeah, this is just in the store, you can buy this specific thing, as opposed to some, like, other, like, free-to-play games like a Fortnite or whatever that manufactures this discontent of, like, this thing's gonna go away forever, you better gonna know. Like, no, it's just gonna be in there. Do you want this cool skin for this character? Yes or no? In 3 years, it'll still be there, type of thing. So the idea of a $40 multiplayer-only game, or $40 multiplayer game just in general, with no microtransactions, was awesome idea to me, because that's what Overwatch was back in the day. And then, there was the loot boxes stuff, but that felt different. Because I remember before Overwatch came out, all of the conversation was, A, is it free to play? Yes or no? But also, like, they're going to sell the characters, right? They're not going to, like, have them all for free. That would be weird. They got to do the League of Legends thing and sell the characters. And so Concord doing what Overwatch did in 2016 doesn't fly anymore, and you can't have that same promise of, we're not going to sell you anything that you want. You know what I mean? That you would want. Doesn't fly anymore when all of a sudden the game is free to play, because how are you going to make your money? So they pulled the game because they were probably thinking that is going to be an option, which means we need to say, sorry, there is going to be a battle pass now. You know, they had all these seasons planned. They had a year's worth of all those cutscenes, those weekly cutscenes. They had a year of them already made. They were so proud of that. They said, "Yep, we made a year's worth of the cutscenes already." And then we're still working on the ones after that. There's people whose work will never be seen. We saw 4 of those cutscenes. The launch, you launch the game for the first time. Week 1, 2, and 3. Week 3 being like 2 days before it got shut down. So many we won't ever see. And there's that Amazon Prime show that has a Concord episode. Now this is really embarrassing. Now this is this is the state of the industry. We got some stuff here, some stuff there, a game that's already dead. More of like an artifact of history rather than an exciting, this is the state of video games. How much money did they spend years ago to be like, yep, a Concord episode, right? Sony spent that, like a year ago or whatever? That's money, right? That was advertising. They want to advertise the game after it came out. You got to advertise it ahead of time. So that's Concord, and that sucks. Now, if they knew right away, if they weren't going to explore any options, and they're like, okay, we're just shutting it down, then there could have been the actual option of, let's just leave it open for people who have it. Let's just leave the game open. We're not going to put any content in it. We'll leave a skeleton crew of like 6 people just to keep the servers going, and that's it. But because they already pulled the game off stores, they refunded everyone. Where are they going to open the game back up again? Then just say, yeah, just whatever. They weren't gonna do that, right? So that really does suck because, I mean, there are people that play some of these old ass MMOs like Lord of the Rings Online or EverQuest, DC Universe Online, The Matrix Online. I think that's still around. I don't know about that one specifically, but all the others I mentioned and a few more, they have like monthly player counts of like 100 people at most. And there's like 3 people that run those servers, and they just keep the game going for the super fans who love that game, who already spent that money and love that game. And yeah, this Daybreak is the company that does that. They own all these MMOs that are like yesteryear's MMOs. They keep them online because there is a couple people who will spend hundreds of dollars a year. And when you have like 2-3 people running those servers just keeping the game open, that's their salaries and a little bit of change back to Daybreak. Something like that could easily have been done for Overwatch, but Sony wants the God of War, the Horizon, the Last of Us of multiplayer games. By the next time Sony makes a large statement about Helldivers 2, mark my words, they're going to talk about how proud they are, how much belief they had in it, how much confidence they had in it, how it was always like this big thing in their minds, when in reality that was a publishing obligation that they had. They spent like not much money on it at all. They were not literally 100,000 units was like what they expected that game to sell, a $40 game. The multiplayer, I mean, you can play it by yourself. That's true. $40. Second best-selling game of the year. Only game that's beating it so far is college football, which, I mean, 10 years without a college football game is going to get people excited for that game. That game had an extremely high player count during that pre-release part where people, if they pre-ordered the $100 version of the game, got to play it like a week early. EA's like, yeah, high player count on this one. Look at it. It's like 100,000 people that spent $100 on this game to play it early. That game is going to be number one. And yeah, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, next month we're going to see is probably going to pass the $12 million copies sold of Helldivers 2. But Sony's going to act like Helldivers 2 was always like this big thing to them. And it's not. That was an accident. A really awesome accident. But it's not something they were expecting. But they were expecting that for Concord. And it is embarrassing. I'm actually surprised that, like, I don't know, there isn't a bigger, like, shame campaign on Sony. But there are Sony fans that don't want multiplayer games. They want that dream that was promised to them during the last couple years of the 2010s. of a PlayStation that makes nothing but these HBO prestige TV quality single player games with the mostest graphics just ever, just the greatest things ever, and we're in the reality where you're getting like, I don't know, one Sony game a year because of that. I played and platinumed Astro Bot a week ago. Man, there's a lot of PlayStation games and just a lot of ideas, times of PlayStation that don't exist anymore because they want to focus on The Last of Us, Horizon, new God of War. They did that Until Dawn remake. God. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on to a different game. 3,053 bounces. I think that's a good enough high score. I'm going to go ahead and delete this game. I think I remember to remove it from that list later. Deleting the game doesn't remove it from the list because you can put games on a list that aren't installed. I got to give it a second. Ever since that latest update, it now takes forever for this to open up. We're going to talk about the next news story here. This is an interesting one. I have mixed opinions on this. A little cynical on it. The Analog 3D. So Analog, spelled the British way, is a company from, I remember first hearing about them in like maybe about 2015, 2016. They're a company that makes reverse engineered, custom recreations of mostly Nintendo, but consoles. They had their Analog NT, I believe it was called, which was a system that you could plug an actual Nintendo Entertainment System cartridge into, and it would run it system accurately. No emulation, game running straight off the cartridge, straight into the machine. It's not like one of those Hyperkin devices where you put your Sega Genesis game card into it, and it just dumps the ROM into the Android emulators cache, or even just downloads it straight from the thing, and then just runs an emulator on your TV. It's not like one of those. Analog actually made it so they run straight off the cartridge. They have done that. They made a Nintendo Entertainment System, made a Super Nintendo, they made a Sega Genesis, and then a couple years ago, more years ago than that, they came out with the Analog Pocket, which was a handheld Game Boy-like device in Game Boy form factor that played a variety of handhelds, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, natively, and then they sold adapters for the cartridges to fit like Neo Geo Pocket, Sega, not Master System. What was their handheld called? Sega Nomad was the handheld Genesis, Game Gear, Sega Game Gear, and I think it wasn't Wonder Swan. There was one more. I forgot what it was. But then they also came out with a TurboGrafx 16, right? I think it was a TurboGrafx 16 that they came out with, and then now they're doing the Nintendo 64, which I know they teased a long time ago. My opinions on Analog are a little wishy-washy. They're kind of Apple-like in a couple instances, a couple ways. They're Apple-like in the sense that they're like, look how beautiful our hardware is visually. Isn't this so beautiful? But they're also a company that like, they talk themselves up to such an embarrassing degree. And I know, let's see, is it in here? In this thing here? Oh, they don't have the copy in here. Ooh, let's see if it's this. Oh, man, I don't know. They don't have it in here. It's a shame. I think it was a tweet that they had where they're talking about basically how, like, technology has been saved. Like, they're talking like about like the creation of this device which plays Nintendo 64 games off your cartridges accurately. Like they've cracked the technological miracle, that they've like saved science, that they've like saved culture and humanities and brought everyone a step forward into God's light. Like they talked it up just way too Apple-like about like, okay, what you're making is a $250 Nintendo 64 with an HDMI port. Because that's basically it. This is a Nintendo 64 with an HDMI port. So they're a bit, about about them as a company. Um, and they also like don't they're one of the types of people in like the retro gaming scene that don't acknowledge that other people in that scene exist. So they don't celebrate anyone else's achievements. They don't talk about, let's say, the Mister, for instance, and how great an open source thing that is, and worth more than this, just by virtue of like everything the Mister project can do. So they're a little bit like, yes, we're the only ones that exist, and we're just so fucking great. Um, but to say some good things, I will say the Analog Pocket, people really seem to like it, and it seemed more of a useful device beyond literally playing the literal games off cartridges. Um, they did want people to make their own FPGA cores for the thing, essentially having people work for free to make their device more useful, which I take an issue with, especially with all the Mister stuff going on. Like, that's an open source project. People love to contribute to Mister Project because it's for the community, and no one is like profiting off of that. Like, yes, you can buy the parts for a Mist to make a Mister from specialty shops like Mr. Add-ons, and yeah, the Mr. Add-ons guy will make one for you and sell it at a bit of a premium compared to the flat rate of all the prices of all the pieces for the thing. But like, it isn't like, oh yes, let's all contribute to the PlayStation 5 for free. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of my thing with the Analog Pocket. But a really nice device, and I think it was designed extremely brilliantly. I love that thing. I don't own one. I would get one, though. And I will say the other thing about this, $250 is a lot of money. However, it is cheaper than buying a Nintendo 64 and getting it HDMI modded these days. Obviously, people can charge what they want to charge for their own labor when you work for yourself, and when you do, very niche things like retro console hardware mods. You know what I mean? Like, someone has to actually, rip open your Nintendo 64 carefully, solder in and install a chip. Usually, there's like a ribbon cable, and then actually like very delicately cutting out a slot for the HDMI stuff, and so whatever they want to charge for that is fair. And I've thought about doing this stuff because I own two Nintendo 64s. I could get one of them. I can get one of them HDMI modded, or I could spend that money and build a Mister, or I save that money, buy a RetroTink 4K, just $750, and then it doesn't matter that any of my consoles are HDMI modded because they can plug straight into the RetroTink 4K, and then we're getting the most amazing quality on a 4K television panel or a stream like this, and 1080p stream like this, then having one just simply be HDMI modded. RetroTink 4K is awesome. So this thing is cheaper than these other alternatives. So like, that makes it worth it. It is, I don't believe it's been, I know they did their pre-orders already. This article is about the pre-order. But I don't know if it's been like officially like sold yet. But my other thing with Analog is that they love doing the whole like, yep, we're all sold out. That's it. Goodbye. They didn't do that with the Pocket though. I'm hoping, and I don't know what they did with their Turbo Graphics, or I think it was more Turbo Duo. I think was more specifically the thing. So I don't know if they're gonna pull the same thing with this, because if that's the case, well then good luck. It's like trying to buy, I don't know, any specialty Nintendo hardware thing. They're like, yep, this is gonna sell it instantly. You're not gonna get one type of thing, like one of those NES Classic Minis. That thing turns a decade old next year. So that's that. I think it looks nice, but I'm gonna be honest here. I think the regular Nintendo 64 looks better. I heard someone once categorize the Nintendo 64 within the context of all the video game machines that came up to it, and none of the ones that came afterwards. Even still kind of the ones that came afterwards. But up to that, the form factor of the Nintendo 64, this person described it as the Cadillac of video game consoles, and I kind of agree. But this thing looks nice. Also, I think it shows in the photo there, but we can see here, 8BitDo is making a $40 controller for the thing, and obviously PC, that has that, more unique button layout, the 6-button layout of the Nintendo 64. And I might get one of these for PC. I own one of the Nintendo Switch Online Nintendo 64 controllers, which is a USB charging thing and connection. And I can plug that straight into my PC and just, you know, play games on emulator like that way. You know what I mean? But this one would be neat to have as well. This one might be, and obviously it's Bluetooth as well. I might snag one of these. Okay, we need to pick a game. Before we go into our next story. I want one that's 2 stars. Off of this list here. Because we've only done 2-star ones, and we've been ranking kind of how good these are so far. I am thinking Deep Space Rush. I think we're going to do this one. So I'm going to hop over here. I'm going to search up Deep Space Rush. That's what it's called, right? Deep Space Rush. Typed in deep. Not seeing it pop up right away, but PSNprofiles.com, sometimes like its search function is weird. Where it's like you can type in exactly what the thing is. I get rid of the word rush. Yeah, and then that worked somehow. So Deep Space Rush. Look at these trophies right here. Buy something. Buy a here. I think that meant heal. Healer. Buy a here. Killed by a monster. Then we want to kill 50 monsters. Complete 100 zones. Max an item. I'm hoping the zones aren't long levels. Okay. Let's talk about our next news story. So this one's a little bit interesting. So Insomniac announced their game Marvel's Wolverine a few years ago. No release date on it or anything like that. And since then they released, I'm not sure if they announced this. They announced this after Ratchet & Clank came out. But before, they announced this, I think, almost alongside Spider-Man 2. No release date on or anything like that. But they said, oh yeah, that's coming after Spider-Man 2. We're kind of like starting it up now. But their creative director, let's see, what was his name again? Brian Horton, has left the project and the company this year, supposedly shortly after the summer, and has moved over to Microsoft, to the Xbox team, to help them and their 2 studios working on this develop Perfect Dark, the kind of Perfect Dark reboot. Let's see, in this game here we have a jump and a shoot. Oh, the game swore. I don't appreciate it. Someone whose native language isn't English wrote this. Just fine. Bye. I don't have any money. Okay, so it's just a run and gun type of thing. I find this very interesting. Both of these games are interesting to me. I'm obviously really excited for Wolverine. I think that's cool. Couple shots to kill these. And Perfect Dark's reboot, I think, which is just called Perfect Dark, looks pretty cool. Looks like you got some immersive Sims type stuff in there. I think it looks pretty good, graphics-wise. Did I die? I like how like the voice thingy the text said, "Don't leave any witnesses. All there are here are bugs and zombies." But yeah, this is one of those things where, like, Corpose? Corpse? Zones 6. I think we're gonna get to 100 zones pretty quickly. The Wolverine director leaving and joining Perfect Dark's team to be the creative director over there, by the way. I think for a lot of people that kind of signals like, oh no, like this is the end times type of thing. Wolverine's in massive trouble. And it also, to them, apparently means that Perfect Dark must have been in massive trouble as well. I don't think either of them are the case. Reports over the summer before this had happened indicated that Perfect Dark... Oh, is this like, not a roguelike. Yeah, roguelike. Fuck. Indicated that Perfect Dark was actually in great shape. That it was going along pretty well. So I guess just having a bit of a change doesn't hurt. You can just hold down the shoot button. And I don't think this necessarily means that Wolverine is in, like, development hell just because the creative director left. At this point, over the summer, let's say at the beginning of this year even, at this point, that game is locked down. That game is locked down. They know exactly what that game needs to be, and it's just a matter of polishing it to that point. We keep our money. Okay. I don't know what any of this stuff does. I'm gonna buy... Oh, I see, we can upgrade. Let's just keep upgrading our gun. What? You know, this program is a real test of my ability to talk about the news while also playing a video game somewhat well. So let's see. At this point in Wolverine's development, they already know what that game needs to be. They already have plans, if we saw in the Insomniac leak, on their next games after that. There is an X-Men game, and from what we've seen, you know, you may or may not be playing as a particular X-Man or X-Woman in the Wolverine game itself. Which I think is actually interesting. I would not have picked this character as, like, the only other X-Men to play as besides Wolverine. But I think that also indicates an interesting story they might be going with. It's Jean Grey, supposedly. I think there was actual footage of people, you know, of someone controlling her and flying around and shooting stuff, maybe? I don't remember exactly. I didn't really look at it all that much. Interesting nonetheless, I will say. So yeah, at this point, they know what that game needs to be, and it's just keep on keeping on, working on the game. I'm hoping that game comes out next year. I mean, man, they did announce it, I feel like, 3 years ago? I think it was 2021 when they announced it. It was like the summer after Ratchet & Clank, which was the beginning of summer in 2021. Yeah, that's when they announced that game. But why can't I level up this gun? Whatever. This. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. You gotta click the thing and then the other thing too. You look at this menu. Look at this buy button. I know on the screen in the stream it's a lot smaller than it is right now, but it's really big on the TV. Because this was probably a mobile game first. I think a lot of these tend to be mobile games. Does this thing do more damage now? I think it does more damage. Oh. What's nice is that we don't have... Oh, we can double jump? We don't have to, like, in one run do 100 zones. It looks like it is just in total. Alright, same thing with killing guys. That's good. Yeah, I am still excited for... for Wolverine, and I'm also... Well, okay, how do I make this jump now? Oh, okay. I'm also excited for Perfect Dark, and I mean, if Indiana Jones is coming to PlayStation 6 months after it does come out in the Xbox, maybe Perfect Dark's going to be the same way. Now, I say this, but apparently there's also a report that, as a reaction to all of the Xbox fans apparently being mad at Indiana Jones is coming to PlayStation, announcing that before the game even comes out. Apparently now there's talks to dial some of that back, so I don't know. I think it is in their best interest to just release as many games as in many places as possible, because they're not making the things anymore that are driving people to buy their hardware. So that's that. Next up, this is funny. It's dumb. It can lead to some massive effects on YouTube, and perhaps even Spotify. But Nintendo has released Nintendo Music. It is a music app. It's a streaming app. You can also download songs. That's music of Nintendo games. Not every single Nintendo game that's ever existed. That would be crazy. Just the ones that they want for right now, and they're gonna drip feed other albums on there. It is literally just Spotify, but for Nintendo Music. I think there's one Pokemon game on there, and I think it's Scarlet and Violet. That. Maxed out. Perfect, that's what I wanted. It's actually funny, a couple of years ago, Pokemon had an app that was streaming the Pokemon songs, I believe. Or no. It was specifically just Diamond and Pearl, which is weird. I mean, they had the remakes coming out, and Pokemon Legends Arceus took place in the same region, sort of. It took a lot of Diamond and Pearl. And then they shut that down a couple years ago. So maybe they have gotten the word that, like, hey, we plan on doing this at Nintendo, and we would just like that in there. Save our money for health if we need it. But yes, this is a very funny thing. There's one neat thing. They must clearly, they're not dumb. They know that people put their songs on YouTube. That's the sad thing, is that this now allows them a much more legal room to, like, go after all those YouTube accounts and shut them down, and that's really annoying. By the way, this app, in order to use it, you need to be a Nintendo Switch Online subscriber, which is $20 a year or $50. So, like, I feel like most Nintendo fans that play games on the Switch already have that. I'm not subbed to it anymore just because I don't really use the system. I was subbed to the $50 tier for the Nintendo 64 games, and, like, their emulation just wasn't good. It wasn't worth spending that money, so I stopped. But, like, I feel like I'm in the vast minority on that. So I feel like this is just a cool extra bonus now that is unrelated to any purchasing decision that you need to make. You know that this game is not bad. I'm gonna throw this out there. So far, this is the best game. It's not asking me to do too much stupid stuff, you know? Just keep blasting, guys. Rapper. Oh. Just get to 50 zones. I thought this was saying, hey, trap a guy. Now I'm dead. Shame. So yeah, like, that's gonna have an effect on all that stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe some of the remixes on Spotify might also get affected. I don't know. There is talk, which is interesting. So in Japan, you can buy a lot of Nintendo soundtracks on CD, but not in America. And that's weird, because there's a market here that would definitely want to spend $40 for a 2 CD set, a 3 CD set, a 4 CD set of, like, Kirby shit, right? People do that here. I bet they would sell more than they would in Japan, but the rumor, or at least the theory rather, as to why Nintendo does not release their soundtracks for sale in America is that, I guess, opens them up to allowing people to legally sell covers. And Nintendo's all about, like, hey, we made this thing, no one gets to enjoy it unless it is on our terms, no matter what. Like, we all, like, complain about Disney being like, yep, they're taking the copyright laws and getting and lobbying to get them extended as much as possible, but, like, Nintendo, I feel like, is the company that probably is more so doing that stuff, I feel like. Like, they are so desperate. Like, the day you are allowed to just download Super Mario Brothers, the Nintendo Entertainment System, and sell your own little version of it, Nintendo doesn't get any money off of that. The day that happens, Shigeru Miyamoto is going to kill himself. Straight up. And that's just Nintendo's philosophy, like, this is our stuff. Doesn't matter that we make other things. Doesn't matter that we go beyond just straight up Super Mario Brothers for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Like, we will die if you allow someone else to make something with our stuff. Like, you can't let this go into public domain. That's interesting. I'm wondering if this app also does that too, but I think because the app does not sell anything, a subscription allows one to use the app. Might be how they get away with potentially some of that stuff. Super Killing Machine. And we just need to get to Zone 100 and then we're done. That's all we need to do left. This is very interesting. One neat thing. So, like I said, they obviously know that, like, people upload songs to YouTube. But then, why are we going from this direction? But then they also notice something too. Hey, there's people that upload, like, 30-minute long versions of the songs because video game tracks oftentimes are looping. Your stage music, you know, I don't know, just like most video game songs that aren't played in a cutscene, right, are designed to loop. And I've actually, you know, I may or may not have downloaded a bunch of video game tracks off of maybe Kingdom Hearts Insider. You know, and I may or may not have taken those into Premiere and carefully arranged them in a fashion so that I can loop them however many times I want. So they know that people like doing that. Like, some of those songs in some of these games, they know people will listen like 30 minutes to this. And so the one neat thing that they're doing is they, like, because they know, like, these aren't normal songs. These are songs that loop or are able to loop. Yes, and like an official soundtrack version of a song has either an ending flare or a fade out at the end of it. Sure, but they obviously can loop, and, well, they have in their app for the songs that are loopable the ability to just say, hey, just keep this going. Just keep extending this. Not that the song itself, like, not the song file will loop, but, like, it is constructing in additional loops to the music. So it is just continuing. It's not starting over, like if on Spotify you were to take, you know, your Carly Rae Jepsen album and just loop this one song over and over again. The song stops and then it fell and died. The song stops and then starts back up again afterwards. This is more of like the song just keeps going on forever and ever and ever, and there is no stop. It does seem, though, that it's more of like, hey, you could set 30 minutes or 60 minutes, I think. 15, 30, and 60. So, okay. Their alternative is maybe instead of some weird, like, instruction going on in the app when you choose to hit, yeah, keep this going, extend this track. Maybe it's just like, no, all these songs, there's just 4 versions of it. The single version, the 15-minute, the 30, and the 60. That's probably more like, especially since you can download them. So, very, very interesting. Let's move on to our next story here. This one's simple. It is reported, and, you know, I tend to believe this, that Naughty Dog's next game might be open world in maybe in a not literal sense. It's not exactly clear the extent, but supposedly, and this was, I believe, spoken by from MinMax, Ben Hansen from MinMax, that he spoke to someone from Naughty Dog who he trusts, and that person likened the game to a recent open freedom concept game, and for whatever reason specified that it is not Hitman, because I guess you could see that from like one of these linear Naughty Dog type of games, a Hitman design of freedom of, well, there's just so many ways you can do the thing in the level, maybe seems more in line with what they would probably do, because they gotta make the mostest graphics, and they gotta make all those animations of people contextually walking in this tile of the kitchen, and walking by this cupboard in the kitchen. You know, they gotta do all that stuff, and you can't do that when it's an open world. I remember playing Uncharted 3, being like, goddamn, Nathan Drake in this game, he walks around environments like a baby deer that's just learning how to walk, because everything was so contextual in that game. They tiled it down in The Last of Us, but like, man, you're walking around some of the less like just shooting gameplay areas want to have their story moments. He's got to like touch every wall that you walk by and just like grab the corners, and he's just got to brush his hands on everything, and he's just tripping all over himself to do all that. But apparently it is not like a Hitman type of idea of freedom. And if we look at what Neil Druckmann has apparently stated a couple years ago, he really, really respects Elden Ring. I think that what this open freedom idea means is maybe even something like Breath of the Wild or like Elden Ring. Both of them have the same ideas in terms of what open means. They just take it to different approaches. Elden Ring is more of a traditional like JRPG, where if something's too hard, well, just come back later. You don't have to just you could do other things besides fight this. Even if that means just grind, you can grind somewhere else. The Elden Ring type of thing, and obviously they took that to mean like, hey, there are a lot of different walls you can bash your head against. You don't have to bash your head against the one wall, like maybe Dark Souls has provided the best. Hey, that was the Platinum Trophy. We're done with this game. So I would find it very interesting if the next Naughty Dog game is a brand new IP, so meaning it doesn't have the baggage of known characters, known graphics even, you know what I mean? Like, if the next game they make is The Last of Us Part 3, and it's an open world, it is just not going to look as good as The Last of Us Part 2, and then people are going to freak the fuck out, just because it's going to be an open world, you know what I mean? It's just going to be, they're going to have to spend more time making more things. They cannot finally craft, all the grass there, the dried grass there, right? So you make a new thing. Or you take a really old thing like Jak and Daxter, and you do that. Imagine Jak and Daxter 4. Cartoony, lovable, and it's a Breath of the Wild's world. They come to Nintendo and say, hey, we'll give you $1 billion. Can we just take your map? You're keen to use it a second time. Can we use it a third time? Yeah, fine. Why not? I would love it. But I would also love something brand new. They did kind of reaffirm, I guess, that like, no, we're gung-ho on character-driven, relationship-driven stories. Cool. I want one that's happier. The last happy game they made was Uncharted 3. Last of Us was dour. And then Uncharted 4 needed to be dour. Needed to be complicated. The idea of lying heavily to your spouse, risking your health, your life, going against your word. It's dour. That's what that game was about. And, I'm going to throw this out there, too. Elena forgives Drake way too quickly in Uncharted 4. She forgives Nathan Drake way too quickly in that game. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Lady could be just sitting home, working on her business by herself. You know what I mean? They have their own business, scavenging from the bottom of the ocean, trying to do the paperwork, not realizing her husband's dead and no one will ever see him again. He basically just disappears. Awful. Awful. She forgives him way too quickly. Because if you remember, in between Uncharted 2 and 3, I don't know if they got married, but they were like a couple. But she left him because he was just like, I gotta keep doing this adventure stuff. It's all I got. And then when he almost dies in Uncharted 3 is when he gives up. But obviously Uncharted 4 is like, what would bring him back? Well, the life of his brother would bring him back. I get it. But like, still, she forgives him way too quickly. All he needed to do was talk and explain, like, hey, I never said I had a brother because we never wrote that in. But I have a brother now. And this guy, they're going to kill him if I don't give him a lot of money. Well, we're gonna do the thing. And then the brother lies, which is also dour. That guy sucked. Voiced by Troy Baker, though. That guy sucked. But Uncharted 4 was not a happy game. It was not an awe-inspiring wonder. It wasn't a game that was like, oh, this is wonderful. Right? Last of Us Part 2 is just, I don't know, a Zionist view on eternal conflict and revenge. There is no beginning. Those two factions, they fought. They killed each other. That's just what they were. It just sucks. That's just what it is. Who cares how it started? In fact, we don't want to see how it started. I hope their next game is something more cheerful. I would even take, as some people have said, a new Uncharted game that's like, his daughter, because in the epilogue of Uncharted 4, he has a kid. It's a teenager. And she discovers in this epilogue that, like, oh yeah, mom and dad used to be cool. Not dorks with a lot of money. They have a lot of money at the end of Uncharted 4. They have a lot of money. And I'm going to throw this back there too. This meant nothing at the time. People thought it meant something. It meant nothing at the time. But this was like 2 years ago, I want to say. There was a PlayStation 5 advert commercial. I think we were just the concept of the PlayStation 5, right? And it was live action. I believe it was all live action. Takes on their games. And there was one that didn't make any sense. It was like a lady walking through like a ruins or something, or a cave. You were like, oh, there's like a blonde lady too, I think. You were like, oh my god, it's an Uncharted reboot. That's the kid. It also just meant Tomb Raider, or just the idea of adventure in general, because I don't think they ever said, yep, and this one is God of War, and this, like there was just montage stuff. I remember in PlayStation 4, their live action adverts were all about like the weapons and items in the games, and none of that mattered to me until they showed a real life. It was probably just computer effects. Keyblade. I'm like, hell yeah, because Kingdom Hearts 3 was coming out. It was around the corner at that time. Man, that game is 5 years old. Played through it once. Gotta finish that game. Got 2 more stories. We're gonna rearrange them. We're gonna talk about the PlayStation 5 slim covers. Not fitting the PlayStation 5 Pro. PlayStation 5 Pro is not out yet. But review copies are out for people. So someone on Reddit has one. And if you look at, the profile of the PlayStation 5 Pro and the Slim, you might visually be able to eyeball and be like, oh yeah, I think the cover plates on the PlayStation 5 Slim, they probably fit on the PlayStation 5 Pro. PlayStation 5 Pro is taller, but like a little like slit through the sides is just wider. It's got those stupid fins. Visually identify that it is more of a PlayStation 5 than the PlayStation 5 you already own. Cool. Apparently this user on Reddit's like, hey, they are the same size and the bottom plates fit, but the top plates don't fit because little like hooks, plastic hooks that you actually click into the things, they're in different spots. So it won't fit. So if you bought like maybe some of like the Chroma collection or any of these other different colored plates for your PlayStation 5 Slim that you don't own because you're like, I'm going to get a Pro, well, you wasted some money. And I think there was some back and forth on messaging on whether or not the Pro did support those plates. This is just weird. This is just really weird. Um, I feel like this is an oversight. This is how weird this is because to me, like I have a launch day PlayStation 5 with the disc drive. That's what we're playing now. Either this controller or the other one is the one that came with it. So I don't have a Slim. I did buy the maroon, or I don't know if it's just red, cosmic red, whatever. I did buy the red plates for the PlayStation 5 launch model with the disc drive. They are not on my system. They are still in the box that they came in, and that box is still in the shipping box unopened, and it's been sitting like that for like a year and a half. Because I got it, and I'm like, hey, this is one of those accessory types of things that they won't make too much of them. They won't sell that well. And man, eBay's gonna want to ask a lot of money for them. So why don't I just buy one? Hold on to it. I have laying around here somewhere the PlayStation 4 DualShock 4 controllers back paddle attachment, the official one they made at like the end of that system's life. It plugs in the headphone jack on the PlayStation 4's controller, that DualShock 4. And it just has two back paddles. Only game I used that for was for Hades. I had Dash on that, and I thought that was actually useful. They want a lot of money for that because no one bought that, and they didn't make too many of them. So I'm like, the cover plates are going to be the same thing. And this was also, too, because, like, the one of those two plates is going to be different if you bought the Slim or the one with the disc drive, right? Because the disc drive is that big. It's got to encase the disc drive. If you buy, I'm pretty sure, they always show it this way. You buy plates for your Slim, it just comes with both, like, I mean, there's 4 plates because it's cut in half, right? So 2 tops and 2 bottoms. That bottom right one, they come with one for the no disc drive, and they come with one for the disc drive. And the same thing with the 30th anniversary stuff. So cool, right? Because, you know, there's basically 2 of all of the launch model ones to get. And then you have all of these PlayStation Slim ones, and then there were some specialty ones. There was a Spider-Man 2. There was Final Fantasy 16 only in Japan, which made me mad because I wanted to get that controller, but at the same time, I didn't have the money to spend on it. I could have just imported it. All those. So, like, okay, cool. They're not going to have a 4th plate lineup for the Pro. They have the design in such a way that you can reuse the same plates. No. That seems so weird to me because I don't see that as a money grubbing thing. Because to me, like, oh yeah, like it uses your same like upgrade. Look, you get to use your same cover plates. You know what I mean? Give us $700. You'll do it, please. So no, actually, apparently they do kind of just want you to buy future plates for your PS5 Pro. Plates that look the exact same as the ones for the Slim. Because they are the same size and shape. The teeth, those plastic hooks are in different spots. That is insane to me. I actually like the white, and I like the design of the PlayStation 5. I'm in the minority on that. Last news story for the day, for the week, last couple weeks. This was announced earlier in the year, but there's a release date for it now. The PlayStation 1 game Croc, Legend of the Gobos, a game I enjoyed as a child. I think I still have it on disc. I think I still have it in his house. I don't think it's in storage. Man, I love this game. Getting a remaster in the same. We can play the little trailer here too, I think. Yeah, look at this. Look at this guy. Get this resolution up there. Yeah, it is like that Tomb Raider 1, 2, 3 remastered, and the Soul Reaver 1 and 2 coming out in December, and the Tomb Raider 4, 5, and 6 coming out in February. PlayStation 1 games with the environment modeling and polygons being the same, but a new coat of paint on it, minimal new effects, but the character models have been redone. It is just literally that idea. I enjoy these. I love the idea of these types of remakes, I guess, because it means they are cheap to make. Cheap to make, that means they can come out quickly. And if they don't sell all that well, it doesn't mean you have to stop. I mean, you can just do it again. You know what I mean? Like, I've been following the Argonauts Twitter account. That's the original creators of Croc, and I guess they have reformed in some fashion. My God, I remember the jelly thing. I loved this game as a kid. First boss was scary to me though. He was like looked like Big Bird. Scared me. And I loved those little gemmy things on PlayStation 1. They were just a sprite, an animated sprite. It's actually kind of hard to tell if it's the same way here. I'm okay if that's the case. But it would also be interesting if they were a 3D model. But yeah, I loved this game as a kid. And I follow them on Twitter, and yeah, they post way too much, but they're excited, and I'm excited for them. And yeah, I don't know. They're like, people are like, "Oh, are you gonna do Croc 2?" A game I've never played. I never finished Croc 1, by the way. Never finished Croc 1. I had the Game Boy Color Croc 2. Just this weird top-down game that was way too hard for me as a child. Way too hard. And it was one of those games where it was like, yeah, you start from the beginning. You lose all your lives. So it's like, well, okay, I got to World 2 once. Ugh. But anyway, love this game. They want to do a remake of Croc 2, but this game has to sell well. And they would like to make a Croc 3, but this would have to sell well. I don't think it needs to sell too much to have sell well be a goal, be an attainable reality for them. So I'm excited for this. They announced a release date for the game. Not a release date. They announced a planned release month of December. So next month. Okay, fine. Sooner than I was expecting. Because the way they were talking about it, they were announcing platforms, and it seems like there was not much else to show about the game. It's like, man, how much later is this going to be? Why haven't you given a date? They want to make sure it's going to be polished, but yeah, the plan is December. Then there's a physical version coming out from a company called Rocket Games. Rock It, like rock the vote. Or the rock and roll, making a very limited run style collector's edition. You can pre-order, I think, now, and in limited run fashion. You don't get it until like about a year from now. So I'm not gonna get the physical version now. Like I was this way with limited run stuff, where it's like, cool, oh my God, I'm gonna pre-order. I'm gonna buy this game physical. Oh man, cool, can't wait to play it. And then as I'm waiting months and months for the thing to finally ship to me, I'm seeing like the digital version on sale. I'm like, I would be an idiot to buy it a second time, but I got the physical coming. I missed out on games that and then I wasn't in the mood for them by the time the physical came out, and blah blah blah. And limited run's whole shtick annoys me. And I read a alleged testimony from one of the co-founders who left the company earlier this year about the other guy who co-founded that company, and confirmed a lot of the business practices being malicious on purpose, because the idea of FOMO makes them more money. I don't like limited run games. This other company, Rocket Games, seems to be doing the same shtick. I guess on one hand, it's like, cool, I guess I'm not supporting limited run games. There are people that work there that I know they've hired that are cool people, that I want to continue to have jobs that pay them well and doing things that they like. So I don't want to be like, I hope limited run games dies or anything like that. I just tired of buying a game, pre-ordering a game. I hate that term. Let's dissect this. You're pre-ordering a game from limited run that has not gone into manufacturing and will not go into manufacturing until after their pre-order window is done. To what extent after that is unclear. They probably know how many to make and blah blah blah, but still unclear. And it comes out and ships to all those people, right, that pre-ordered it, and then that's it. I know for a lot of the Switch stuff, yes, they then also put stuff on Best Buy, but for the most part, for years and years, and I still think a lot of their stuff still today, the only copies that they make are the ones that were pre-ordered. So that's not a pre-order, that's a purchase, because the thing isn't for sale when it comes out. There is no release date for it either. and for my physical collection spreadsheet that I have managed, for the release date for all these limited run physical versions, it's like, well, I'm using the day they announced you could first purchase it. Because to me, that is the release date. If you can buy it, then that's the date, I guess, because James got it November 10th, and Jimmy got it on August, 8th, and Sally got it in October, and there's no release date for it, right? And even with the Switch stuff that does go to the Best Buys, this Best Buy got it on Thursday, and this one got it on Monday, and there's no release date. It's just they get it, and then they have it, right? So I am gonna buy this digitally when it comes. I'm gonna pre-order it. I think I should also pre-order that Soul Reaver collection too, because it's on PlayStation. It's at least 10% off. Cool. I'll do that. So I'll pre-order this one. I enjoyed this game. Did not get very far into it, and yeah, by the time uh they like make the physical version. I know my homies over at I'm gonna pimp this other store. Video Games Plus. They give a little sticker whenever you buy a game from them. A Canadian retailer that's been like I don't know. I think it's as old as me almost. Almost. I think they're 25. So I got 5 years on them. Canadian retailer gets those limited run stuff when they ship out or at all. You know what I mean? And dude, I bought stuff from them. Free shipping over $25. They come in a cardboard box. You know what pissed me off? You wanted your game from Limited Run Games to ship and not a shitty bubble mailer that breaks in the mail. Pay $2 extra, not for better shipping, to purchase the box. Like a standard cardboard box to put the game in. Come on, guys. And if you want their shitty trading card stuff to not be bent in the same bubble mailer, you can pay them $1 extra to buy a card sleeve, and they'll put the card in the sleeve before they mail it to you. Wow. Jesus. So for $3 extra, you can have a better chance that they're not going to break the thing. Hated that. And they had published two physical PS3 games, both Oddworld games. I pre-ordered them both, got them both. I forget which one it was, the first or the second one. I think it was the second one. Smashed in the mail. Nothing they were gonna do about it. Too bad, is what support told me. Too bad. Not literally saying the words too bad, but like, I don't know, it's in our terms. Should have bought the box. Oh yeah, my panic to get it in the cart and buy it because you're only gonna make 2,000 of these things. And all your shit sells out instantly because you've trained an audience on FOMO to be like, I need to get this, otherwise I'm gonna die. So I didn't add the box to it. Shipping from that company was also expensive as hell. And I remember in a podcast, one of the co-founders being like, "Well, we pay our shipping department, whatever, I forget what the exact verbiage used, a living wage, right?" And a lot of companies don't. I'm like, cool, I respect that, but still, it's a lot of money. A lot of money. So yeah, if I'm gonna be buying it off Video Games Plus a year later, and there's a little bit of an upcharge, probably cheaper than what I would have paid at Limited Run with their freaking shipping. Oh god, and if you pre-ordered multiple things, they're only going to ship all of them at once. Which means if a game like Celeste, it's going to take like an extra year and a half. Everything else you bought, it's got to wait that year and a half. Annoying. Annoying, annoying, annoying. And the other, while I'm on it too, one more thing. The vibe they always gave out on Twitter, especially that one co-founder that's still there, was always much like, hey, you would be the biggest fool if you did not buy this about anything. Anything. All the tchotchke garbage stuff and all their collector's editions, and we made, this line of merchandise and this line of merchandise, and you gotta collect this and you gotta collect this. If you didn't buy this, I mean, you're an idiot because, like, look, eBay is selling it for more. Like, statistically, eBay, if you wanted it later, you're gonna be spending more money, so, like, you're an idiot if you don't buy it now. I remember the pandemic started, and then, like, March, a lot of people were getting laid off, losing their jobs because places were closing down because of the panic of, the coronavirus. And they put out a tweet being like, imagine not buying the collector's edition or whatever, not buying this thing that they were saying. Just like, man, all the news reports around are like, hey, statistically, the types of people that would buy this losing their jobs, a little tasteless. Anyway, I don't know if Rocket Games is anything like them, but at least in the same business practice of pre-order a thing that they're not going to make physical until many months from now. You might get it in quarter 2, 2025 is what the thing says. Whatever. Croc, though. Excited for Croc. Very excited for Croc. All right, I guess that is it for today's stream. Thank you guys for stopping by. I'm going to refresh on this so we can see that Platinum Trophy while I talk about tomorrow's stream and episode. That's right, 2 things happening tomorrow. First, another movie review episode of the Sonic Movie Show is going live. Hopefully in the morning tomorrow. I gotta get it. Gotta do that tonight. It is our review of Five Nights at Freddy's. That's right. So a few days after Halloween, 3 to be exact, you get to prolong that spooky season just a little bit longer with our episode review of Five Nights at Freddy's. This was an interesting one to do. Also was a first. First time, I won't spoil anything, but the first time when we're deciding what tier it goes into, I get cut off. And the line that cut me off was like, hey, why don't we just count down and just say the thing all at once? Because I think we're all on the same page here. The first, we were all on the same page just instantly. Yeah, we all knew what it was. No spoilers, though. It could be high or it could be low. It could be in the middle. It could be really low. It could be really high. So yeah, check out for that episode. A few more episodes down the pipeline. A few more movie reviews, and there is an episode Devin and I recorded about Superfans. That will probably be coming out not tomorrow, but the Sunday after. So check out for that. And another thing that's happening tomorrow at noon Eastern time. I don't say standard or daylight. Say Eastern because I don't know which is which. I don't want to say UTC -4 or 3 or 5 or whatever we're at. I did that once and told people the wrong time, and it was like an hour later. Or an hour before I had told them. Like, oh, can you show up now? And everyone did. So I say Eastern time. Noon Eastern time is the return of my trophy hunting streams in full force. Folks might remember we did Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, that single applet, a part of the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1, PlayStation 5. There's a PlayStation 4 version of that game as well. We did that Platinum Trophy, and I was like, yeah, I really like doing this stuff. You know, knocking out a satisfying Platinum on stream with you guys, you know, in a couple sittings even, which is nice. I want to keep doing this. I wanted to make special plans for how to do this. So, Metal Gear Solid is not the only game that we're going to be doing trophy hunting for. I believe the other games, which there are 2 more at the moment, for when I go to stream those. But tomorrow is going to be Metal Gear Solid's Trophy Hunting Stream Part 1. I'm excited for it. Special work has been put into it, and we're going to have a little special rules for it as well. So check it out. Or if you don't have time, there's always the VOD afterwards, as this is always automatically put on YouTube. It's the place you're watching it anyway, but as a regular thing you can watch. Check it out. Anyway, we got a couple of Platinum trophies today. I'm excited about that. 206. Metal Gear Solid tomorrow, noon. See you then. Bye.